drama in India to what's transpiring on the geopolitical level. In the last 24 hours, US President Donald Trump has taken some very significant decisions that could shape the entire geopolitical situation. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has announced that Trump has given a nod to a bipartisan Russia sanctions bill that could penalize Russia's trading partners. The bill, is passed, would authorize the US to levy as much as 500% tariffs on countries purchasing Russian oil or uranium. The countries that would be most impacted by this would be India, China and Brazil. In an already strained relationship, this proposed bill is further straining the ties between India and the US. While on one hand, US aims to cripple Russia's economy with the tariff bill, Trump has also announced increasing American defense budget to $1.5 trillion. Amid tariff and defense threats, Trump is further alienating its allies. My colleague Shinjoy is now joining us to shed some more light on the 500% tariff threat and the sanctions bill that aims to be targeting India and China.
The U.S. bipartisan Russia sanctions bill is looking at 500% tariff. This is going to be a threat to nations who buy oil from Russia. It's not going to be imposed immediately, but it is an axe that could fall on nations which buy oil from Russia if America sees fit. Now, Lindsey Graham, a Republican leader and a friend of Donald Trump, has said that this is because Putin continues to attack Ukraine. And while he continues to attack Ukraine, he needs money. And the money comes from selling oil. And the oil, and he mentioned 3 countries specifically, China, India, and Brazil. And he says that if any country buys oil from Russia, they could face, as a result of this law, 500% tariff. It's not been imposed as yet. India still faces 50% tariff, but now this new Damocles' sword is there on countries that buy Russian oil. Now, Lindsey Graham says that Putin is not doing anything to end the war, while Ukraine has actually talked about making concessions. So at this point, the one way the war can end is if Putin runs out of money, and Putin will run out of money when people stop buying his oil.
And moving on then, amid turbulent geopolitical situation, US President Trump has made a big declaration. He said that the US should set its military budget for 2027 at $1.5 trillion. He said high allocation is necessary to build a dream military capable of deterring any adversary and keeping the country safe. His statement on Truth Social comes at a time when Trump has been making repeated statements on his Greenland ambitions. Shinjoy is joining us yet again with more details on Trump's plans.
America's defense budget is currently $1 trillion, which is much, much more than any other country in the world, and by a big margin. Now, President Trump, keeping in mind the situation in Ukraine, Russia, in the Middle East, and of course Venezuela very recently, has decided that the defense budget should be not $1 trillion, but it should be $1.5 trillion, which means that there is a $500 billion increase in the defense budget. Now, that increase alone is enormous. To give you an example, the defense budget of India is around $75 billion, which means that this increase alone is 5 or 7 times more than India's defense budget. So that is the level of the increase. And President Trump believes that with the tariffs, more money will come into the the American government will have more money to play with, and with this financial bonus that the tariffs will bring, it will ensure that there is enough money for a $1.5 trillion defense budget. An increase of $500 billion is unprecedented in the history of defense spending. But that is what the president wants, keeping in mind the situation in the Gulf and in the situation in Europe, Russia, Ukraine, Venezuela, not to speak of the rise of China and the worries that America has in the Indo-Pacific.
And well, let's go across and listen to the U.S. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt